Chapter 2, Introduction. Why Beelzebub was in our solar system. It was the year 223 after the creation of the world by objective time calculation, or, as it would be said here on the earth, in the year 1921 after the birth of Christ. Through the universe flew the ship Karnak of the Trans-Space Communication. It was flying from the spaces Asu Paratsata, that is, from the spaces of the Milky Way, from the planet Paratus to the solar system Pandet's Note, the sun of which is also called Pole Star. On the said trans-space ship was Beelzebub with his kinsmen and near attendants. He was on his way to the planet Revos Ra Dender to a special conference in which he had consented to take part at the request of his friends of long standing. Only the remembrance of these old friendships had constrained him to accept this invitation, since he was no longer young, and so lengthy a journey and the vicissitudes inseparable from it were by no means an easy task for one of his years. Only a little before this journey, Beelzebub had returned home to the planet Caratus, where he had received his arising, and from which, on account of circumstances independent of his own essence, he had passed many years of his existence in conditions not proper to his nature. This many-yeared existence, unsuited to him, together with the perceptions unusual for his nature, and the experiences not proper to his essence involved in it, had not failed to leave on his common presence a perceptible mark.
Besides, time itself had by now inevitably aged him, and the said unusual conditions of existence had brought Beelzebub, just that Beelzebub who had had such an exceptionally strong, fiery, and splendid youth, to an also exceptional old age. Long, long before, while Beelzebub was still existing at home on the planet Caratus, he had been taken, owing to his extraordinarily resourceful intelligence, into service on the Sun Absolute, where our Lord's sovereign endlessness had the fundamental place of his dwelling. And there Beelzebub, among others like himself, had become an attendant upon his endlessness. It was just then that, owing to the as yet unformed reason due to his youth, and owing to his callow and therefore still impetuous mentation with unequally flowing association, that is, owing to a mentation based, as is natural to beings who have not yet become definitely responsible, on a limited understanding, Beelzebub once saw in the government of the world something which seemed to him illogical, and having found support among his comrades, beings like himself not yet formed, interfered in what was none of his business. Thanks to the impetuosity and force of Beelzebub's nature, his intervention, together with his comrades, then soon captured all minds, and the effect was to bring the central kingdom of the megalocosmos almost to the edge of revolution. Having learned of this, his endlessness, notwithstanding his all-lovingness and all-forgivingness, was constrained to banish Beelzebub with his comrades to one of the remote corners of the universe, namely to the solar system Ors, whose inhabitants call it simply the solar system, and to assign as the place of their existence one of the planets of that solar system, namely Mars, with the privilege of existing on other planets also, though only of the same solar system.
Among these exiles, besides the said comrades of Beelzebub, were a number of those who merely sympathized with him, and also the attendants and subordinates both of Beelzebub and of his comrades. All, with their households, arrived at this remote place, and there in a short time on the planet Mars, a whole colony was formed of three centered beings from various planets of the central part of our great universe. All this population, extraordinary for the said planet, accommodated itself little by little to its new dwelling place, and many of them even found one or another occupation for shortening the long years of their exile. They found occupations either on this same planet Mars or upon the neighboring planet, namely on those planets that had been almost entirely neglected on account of their remoteness from the center and poverty of all their formations. As the years rolled by, many either on their own initiative or in response to needs of general character migrated gradually from the planet Mars to other planets. But Beelzebub himself, together with his near attendants, remained on the planet Mars, where he organized his existence more or less tolerably. One of his chief occupations was the arranging of an observatory on the planet Mars for the observation both of remote points of the universe and of the conditions of existence of beings on neighboring planets. And this observatory of his, it may here be remarked, afterwards became well known and even famous everywhere in the universe. Although the solar system orbs have been neglected owing to its remoteness from the center and for many other reasons, nevertheless, our Lord Sovereign has sent from time to time his messengers to the planets of this system to regulate, more or less, the being existence of the three brain beings arising on them for the coordination of the process of their existence for the general world harmony.
Catherine?
And thus, to a certain planet of this solar system, namely the planet Earth, there was once sent as such a messenger from our endlessness, a certain Ashiatashima, and as Beelzebub had then fulfilled a certain need in connection with his mission. The said messenger, when he returned once more to the Sun Absolute, earnestly besought his endlessness to pardon this once young and fiery but now aged Beelzebub. And view of this request of Ashiatashima and also the modest and cognizant existence of Beelzebub himself, our Maker-Creator pardoned him and gave him permission to return to the place of his arising. And that is why Beelzebub, after a long absence, happened now to be again in the center of the universe. His influence and authority had not only not declined during his exile, but on the contrary, they had greatly increased, since all those around him were clearly aware that, thanks to his prolonged existence in the aforementioned unusual conditions, his knowledge and experience must inevitably have been broadened and deepened. And so, when events of great importance occurred on one of the planets of the solar system, Beelzebub's old friends had decided to intrude upon him and to invite him to the conference concerning these events. And it was as the outcome of this that Beelzebub was now making the long journey on the ship Karnak from the planet Karatis to the planet Revolver. On this big spaceship Karnak, the passengers included the kinsmen and attendants of Beelzebub, and also many beings who served on the ship itself. During the period to which this tale of ours refers, all the passengers were occupied either with their duties or simply with the actualization of what is called active being mentation. Lauren?
Among all the passengers aboard this ship, one very handsome boy was conspicuous. He was always near Beelzebub himself. This was Hakeem, the son of Beelzebub's favorite son, Tulaf. After his return home from exile, Beelzebub had seen his grandson of his, Hassin, for the first time. And appreciating his good heart, and also owing to what is called family attraction, he took an instant liking to him. And as the time happened to coincide with the time when the reason of little Hassin needed to be developed, Beelzebub, having a great deal of free time there, himself undertook the education of his grandson, and from that time on took Hassin everywhere about with him. That is why Hassin also was accompanying Beelzebub on this long journey, and was among the number around him. And Hassin, on his side, so loved his grandfather that he would not stir a step without him, and he eagerly absorbed everything his grandfather either said or taught. At the time of this narrative, Beelzebub, with Hassin and his devoted old servant Ahun, who always accompanied him everywhere, were seated on the highest Kaznik, that is, on the upper deck of the ship Karnak, under the Kalnukranios, somewhat resembling what we should call a large glass bell. And we're talking there among ourselves while observing this boundless space. Beelzebub was talking about the solar system where he had passed long years. And Beelzebub was just then describing the peculiarities of the nature of the planet Venus. During the conversation, it was reported to Beelzebub that the captain of their ship wished to speak with him, and to this request, Beelzebub acceded.